Hello, everybody. This is Coffee Table Daydreams. I'm here with Sinéad, as always.
Yes, hello.
But we also have a very special guest joining us for this one.
Hey, I'm a DJ.
It's DJ.
Filmmaker.
DJ, everybody.
Filmmaker.
Yeah, filmmaker.
Extraordinaire.
Energy fiend.
Yes.
Crazy. Own a company, the Fuji company.
Yeah.
Actually, creative director for legal reasons.
Yeah.
Just so we make that clear.
Exactly.
Just gotta put that in there.
Yeah.
For all the lawyers listening,
Yeah.
creative director, sole proprietor.
I don't own it.
Yeah, super excited to have you.
Yeah,
We're
that's awesome.
really excited today to be chatting. It's very snowy where I am. Is it snowy where you guys are?
It has been. It's been crazy.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
dumped
feels
on
like
us.
a definite winter wonderland.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
definitely.
nice. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about creative goal setting and kind of like the ups and downs of setting goals, trying to meet those goals, and then what it looks like when all is said and done and you're kind of like looking back in hindsight. And yeah, I think I'd be really curious to start off by like, what are any goals that we all have right now?
It's very
Film
good question.
related.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Turn my life
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
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 Film related.
I don't know.
I think like for me, like I'm kind of like I'm changing everything right now, so I'm kind of turning around like the company and everything, and taking it in a different direction that I want to go in now, because I kind of found what I want to do, and this is top secret information, but like me and Kora are kind of working on some stuff, and I want to put like my face out there more, because no one knows who I am, and it can be kind of problematic, I think. When it comes to people, you know, like they see the page, like, oh, this is cool, but there's no like person behind it really. Like it's just a page, right? So I'm trying to put my face out there more, do stuff like this, just so people know that it's not like it's not a guy with a camera. It's like it's DJ, right? So
Yeah, it's interesting you say that too, because like I feel like that's something we've talked a lot about with Odd House, like Kora and I, about how like bringing our personal side of things to it, although it sometimes feels like it distracts from your professional skill, it is like a really honest way for people to quickly get to know you, at least a part of you that you're choosing to share it. And sometimes that can be tough. At least I feel like it's hard not to grapple with like imposter syndrome with like online presence, because it is definitely just like one facet of you. But with film, and if you're behind the camera or if you're behind the creative works on the back end of things, like people forget that there are a lot of people who put a ton of work into something, and it's not just a finished product that easily rolls like out of the camera bed and then onto the computer. Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know
it's
if that
not.
made any sense. Camera bed.
Yeah, it's not 100% magic all the time. Some of it is, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that balance of like the whole online thing that we talk about, you know, like I've always believed that the work comes first. Like I think, you know, what you do is what defines you, what you like, the work that you do, and like that is what should matter in the end. But at the same time, values also matter, authenticity matters, and who you are like at the core does matter, and that I feel like people do gravitate towards that, like being a genuine person. So figuring out how to convey that which seems like a weird catch-22 sometimes, because you're like figuring out how to convey that you're just yourself, which is strange sometimes. Or
Well,
like
totally.
how to be just authentic, but how to like create things that do show that, like, or that do show your face, or like that you can be more open, but also preserve that you're just being yourself. It's like, yeah, seems tough sometimes, but it is important, I feel.
Yeah, I don't know, like I feel like I've never really been like, I don't know, I'm not like, if you talk to me like just like if you just talk to me, if you just talk to DJ, like I'm not like film guy, you know. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just a guy, right? Like I just do stuff. I do a lot of other stuff, right? Like, so it's like hard sometimes because I was never like, you know, I don't know, like the arts guy or like the film guy or having like specific stuff like that. Like, to be honest, like I just like running and like working out, and like I talk about that a lot, and that's like, but I've never like tied my personality to like filmmaking, which is kind of what I do now because it's like all I find myself doing. But I don't know, that's like a crazy thing, like imposter syndrome that you guys were just talking about, that like there's no limit. Like, I'm gonna say this to you guys like on here, like you are a filmmaker, and just like remember that, and like don't ever feel like you're not, because I think that's so like you're setting yourself, you're cutting yourself short. Your skills, you guys have been doing this for like what, like Kora, I know Kora's been doing it for like 10 years. You've been doing it for like a super long time. Yeah, like filming, right? Oh yeah. So it's like there's no such thing as like a filmmaker. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Like totally. I think like honestly, a big thing with filmmaking too is like there's so many people that set standards that they're like, this is what a filmmaker's got to do. This is what a filmmaker's got to be. And then like it's really hard to be like, where do I fit in that? Because I'm trying to obviously do things differently. And honestly, like a big thing I talk about a lot with like friends and family is the like economic barriers that exist in film. And like if you don't have money to access gear, you're going to be making like films that are probably subpar than your vision, because without the resources, yes, like your iPhone is capable, but it is very difficult to achieve the right lighting, to achieve the right like edit that you want after, if you're fumbling with your thumbs on your phone and you're editing with the software that you have there. Like, and I say phone because like I assume that too, like if there is like a young person who's starting out with film nowadays, they might have a smartphone where like that is where they could start. But I don't know, like when I was young, like I didn't even have a smartphone. I was like using the camcorder and really like making terrible things. Terrible things.
Yeah, it's that whole thing of like true gear doesn't matter in the end, but it doesn't matter until it does matter. And there is like this thing,
kind of give you a kickstart.
Yeah, like there is a disparity of like somebody trying their best to use an iPhone to do everything, and you know they're super capable cameras now, but you know there is still a disconnect there of like what somebody is maybe expecting, or like a certain visual feel. Like it does make a difference in those little things, right? So there's a massive barrier for people. Like it's something that's really hard to wrap your mind around sometimes, where you know film, it's tough in that way. There is a lot of, you know, leg ups that come from having a financial, you know, whatever sort of financial lift up that you have, or you know, leg up for on that side of things. It does make a difference because film is so expensive, even no matter what you're doing. Narrative film, documentary can be done in different ways, commercial, whatever it is. Like either way, you're facing some sort of, you know, barrier in that way. But that's where a lot of creativity comes in. I feel like a lot of the most incredible like creative experiences I've had have been on the zero budget sets where you're like, we just have to figure out a way to make this happen. And we don't just have the snap of our fingers to like get exactly the piece of gear, or like the people, or like the exactly the right circumstances. Like we don't have that. We don't have those resources. So you just make it happen, which I think like is one of the most important filmmaker learning experiences that you can possibly have. And you just don't get that if you always have all the resources you could possibly want. Yeah.
And like, it's funny, like I said this to Kora the other day, and I'm not saying this to like, I'm not trying to get sympathy or whatever it is, right? That's not like what I'm and like I'm not offending myself here, and I'm not talking about this in like a like this isn't like some self-deprecating thing, but it's like I literally think that I'm like the dumbest filmmaker there is because I just go for stuff. Like I'm never like I'm not like analytical with a lot of things, right? Like I'm not super like I think this should be this way or this should be this way. I'm just like, yo, if it works, great. But yeah, I don't have like there's no like barriers and stuff. It's like we have like 2 lights and a camera. That's all I got, man. So it's like, how do I use this to do it, just to make it, just to go? You know, it's like, but yeah.
But like, I think this is going to be controversial that I'm going to say, but I'm going to agree with you. But I feel like in some, and I feel like this is honestly true of many art forms, that another form of gatekeeping is knowledge. Because not everybody has access to have like top tier education from like a filmmaking institute or like government institution even. Like, yes, there are like specialized private schools for film, and then there are like universities where they've got like this film program, film degree, etc. Like, those are excellent things, and I have met very, very intelligent, thoughtful, and like knowledgeable filmmakers from those programs. But I do think that there can be a sense of like an in-group and an out-group when it comes to who can and can't have the legitimacy to tell a story visually, like, and that is really complicated because when we look at art and we look at art history, that the evolution of any art form is not made by the experts. It's made by people who also experiment and try to challenge the medium and explore new ways of using it. And I think that you can't exist in experimentation when you're solely like handcuffed to like, this is the way it's got to be. Where are your rule of thirds? Like, if you're like freaking out like about all the film rules and like it, but like also like you make a mistake. So what? Okay?
Yeah.
You're fine. Like, you're gonna learn, and you're gonna next time be like, okay, this mistake was actually kind of cool because I was on to something.
Yeah.
And it's a different type of education. I
That's
think,
awesome.
The experimentation.
Yeah.
I love that. I love how you said like the gatekeeping thing. Like that's true, because like I know like it's what I do now. Like I guess like filmmaking is like what I do now, but definitely like even just around you two, like I know you two are like in, or Kora finished film school and then you're in film school right now, right? And I haven't done any of that, so it's like
I'm not in film school, but
yeah,
I can correct you.
Well,
later.
you're communications,
No.
film classes.
No, like I've taken some film classes and education, but like honestly, I do come from that background of like self-taught school.
Yeah, for sure. So, but yeah, definitely like sometimes you like look at other people that have all these credentials and you feel less than. That's like part of the imposter syndrome thing.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what is a filmmaker? I don't really, someone that makes film?
Oh yeah, like I've had people like explain grants to me that I'm like, yeah, like Kora and I have that grant right now. And so I'm like, no, this grant is this thing. It's this thing. And I'm like, yeah, I know what that grant is. Why do you think I'm in school right now? I'm in school so I can write better grant applications, baby. Like, I'm trying to do the game too, even though I'm not doing it the same way as you. I'm doing it in a different way that makes sense to me and like my skill set. Yeah,
you face a lot of interesting like raised eyebrows when you in one way or another decide to take a path that's less traveled, whether that is like not going a traditional route with schooling, or not, for me it wasn't like I left Vancouver. I decided to not go into the industry and not be heavily involved in that scene right away. That was weird. Like that's a different path, and like that was for me as a person, but also because I love film and I didn't want to get into that world right away. And and also, yeah, like you just face you face some interesting comments like you do in Sinead, with like being in school and dealing with people in like film who don't know but just to make assumptions, right, like that. Or, you know, being a self-taught filmmaker who owns a production company, like you face people like questioning or you know, making assumptions about what you've done or what you can or can't do. Like that's all something that, you know, interesting to contend with those things.
Yeah. And I think like there's a lot, like so to finally correct you, DJ. No, I'm just kidding. But I am not in film school, but I went for my communications degree because I wanted to support my filmmaking with like more of a sort of like even just honestly like a vocabulary that could support the kind of ideas that I believed in. Because, for example, like before school, I remember like talking to my partner about how I wanted to make these films about like there's like certain women's issues that I was really passionate about, and he was like, well, you know what, like you should go to school because this is something that like you could specifically be learning about. And I felt like school was almost like defeating, like because I was like, oh, I have to give in to the institution and say that I'm dumb. But like it really that was like my own ego. But like now that I'm like finishing my degree right now and I'm kind of like on the other end of it, I don't feel like I'm worlds smarter, but I do feel like I have a sense of confidence in my ideas because of the courses that I took. Because I was like, I'm a filmmaker, I want to be making films, and I want to learn how I can take this like poli-sci course, this sociology course, this communications theory course, like into that. And I was really vocal with my teachers about it, and it helped me so much. And I do feel like when we apply for grants with Odd House, like I feel more confident in like saying like, okay, like I do have an idea, or I do feel like I could talk about this one thing. And it is really good to find those things. And I don't think school is the only thing, but I think it's good to figure out what the things are that make you feel confident about yourself, and to foster that. Because even if it is like running for you, DJ, like that kind of thing is empowering, and it makes you better all around.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, just using like those outwardly, is that the word? Outward influences in outward, is that outwardly?
I mean, I would shift to external because I don't know which
outwardly
form outward. Outward.
But like,
I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, finding those things that kind of help you be more confident in your space. Yeah, same thing. Like with school, I'm finishing up my degree right now, and I'm doing a business degree, and it's definitely not something like, it's funny because like I guess I run a business sort of like, but it's like it's not really something that like I'm like, yeah, like you know, I really want to work in that kind of environment. But yeah, definitely talking to my teachers, and I've told them, I'm like, yeah, like this isn't what I'm doing, and they totally, like, some of them totally like respect you, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, this is what you should do, you know, talk to this person, talk to that person, like, you know, or even, yeah, like I've never been great in school and stuff. Like I'm definitely really hyperactive, and I have like trouble focusing and stuff in class. And I've told my teachers, I'm like, I'm not gonna end up working in like the office environment. Like I can't. So, but like from that, I've taken that, you know, these super professional people still, like, they love you, they respect you, and you can learn a lot. And I've learned a lot from school, and most importantly from school, I've learned what I don't want to do, and that's like priceless. I can't.
Yeah, like that's what I feel like is the really great thing to know about it. It's that, because like I have friends too who's like they do feel, or they seem to show some insecurity around the fact that like they're either out of school and they've like stopped being in the like education sort of ecosystem, or they feel like they're kind of in a space where they're not like challenging themselves. But like it is really important, I think, to really note that there are so many ways to challenge yourself, and like what we talked about too earlier with like experimentation. Like I always, like Kora knows because I bring it up all the time, but like when we were making our like remake of the Hunger Games when we were like teenagers, like that, honestly, like when
That's
we
awesome.
did that, I was like, this is what film should be about. Like, I was like, this is peak cinema.
Yeah.
And, like, it was so, like, half the time, it was so bad. It was so bad.
Yeah.
But there were some moments where you're just like, wow, that is
Yeah.
cool. Like, when I used to, like, run through the bush and, like, Kora would, like, be filming, I was like, yeah! And we'd look at the camera and I was like, wow!
Yeah.
And it empowers you.
Yeah.
Like, that experimentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it to like anybody where like in life, but especially as like any kind of artist, I feel like and film relating to that, like the more that you just live your life and experience your life and experiment and do different things, have adventures, like push yourself, you know, out of your comfort zone, like challenge yourself, like that, all of that stuff adds so much more to who you are just as a person, but as an artist too, versus film school, say, which has like a very specific objective, and you do have a lot of experiences and you gain a certain amount of things, and especially the people that you meet and other artists there, but what really truly informs your work, I feel like, is your life, like what you do, what you push, what you experience, and like experimenting, like you said. I think that's like, it's so important as an artist, just like doing things that are crazy or doing things that people don't expect or that you just want to do on a whim, like just doing it. And like not waiting for somebody to give you the thumbs up, because it's like, we all know as filmmakers, the thumbs up rarely happens, like from somebody else. If you're sitting around waiting for a third party to be like, go for it, like,
and if you are that kind of off the beaten track type filmmaker, like
it's just not
in the industry,
really
it's like you're not gonna be trusted as easily. They're gonna be like,
it's gonna be super rare. I know, like that's my experience for sure. And like I know that if I wait for somebody in the industry like to give me like a complete thumbs up, it's just like the stuff that I truly want to make, like in my heart, is just, it's not gonna happen. It's gonna take a really long time for somebody, like the one random person, to be like, go for it, like that's your vision, like. So that's what makes it so important, like having collaborators and having people that, you know, believe in what you're doing, and that you can like have this community. This is what we believe in, is like this community of people who like want to make things that are real, and leaning on that and just going for it, like just making it happen.
We're obsessed with community.
We're obsessed with community. We love community.
That was fire. That was good, Kora. That got me fired up, actually.
Kora spits
I need some of that.
For real.
No, seriously, like just that mentality of just saying like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. That's like, I can't describe how much that just that line fires me up, and like, I don't need the thumbs up from anybody. You know, there's no one, like, even if I went to film school, even if I worked in the film industry for 10, like 20 years, you're like, there's still someone that's gonna be like, I don't think that's that great. Rotten Tomatoes would give this a 30%. Like,
maybe they would.
Maybe they would.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah,
it's gonna get a cult following.
It might have a cult following. But like, just that, like, that drive to do something crazy is just, like, genuinely that like stuff like that makes me fly out of bed every day. And like, I can't describe it. Like, sometimes this is getting deep, but like sometimes I'm thinking about crazy projects that I got planned, or just how excited I am for like the future, just of like film and stuff, and that I'm just doing whatever I feel like. And I genuinely just sit there, I'm like, yo, I feel like crying right now, because I'm so fired up. Like, it's like this crazy, like, I got all these ideas, like, I got all these things I want to do, and you know, like, I just don't, like I said, like, I just don't care. Like, I'm just going for stuff, and then so
You know what? Like, I connect with that, and I can see Cora's like nodding too, and like I know she connects with that. Like, at least I'm assuming you connect with that. Yeah. Okay. And you know what like comes to mind is like I feel like honestly the greatest gift I started giving myself like at a younger age was writing down my ideas, because it actually makes you feel like they matter. And when you start to treat your ideas with like some kind of acknowledgement, even like writing it down, I don't think is the thing for everyone. Um, like especially too, like some people just aren't like written word is not their medium, and they're like, no, I talk about it, and that's how I set it in motion. But like for me, it's like if I make a note about something, there is like a sense of empowerment where I'm like, yeah, like this idea is kind of cooking. Like, okay, like you come back to it later and you're like, oh, this sucks. Like, and then you're like, okay, it's gotta change. But like, you look at that, like at least I felt like sometimes I look at my past writing and I'm just like, wow, the passion that I know like I can possess, it comes back, and there is like a cycle of it, and sometimes it fades and you need to like heal, rest, like also take in life, like you were saying earlier, Cora, like experiencing life to its fullest, engaging with your interests, engaging with your family, loved ones, friends, like that fuels the time when that creative surge comes and you're just like a madman, like or a mad person, like blah, 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 like like making or writing, like it's amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, I want to circle back to something because it's been on my mind.
What is it?
I want, because like we started talking about this at the beginning, and I wanted to say my goal for like what I've been thinking about lately is, and this is really terrible, and I feel like a really cheesy, like, I don't know, I think you guys are also on the cusp of millennial Gen Z, and like when you're on the cusp of millennial Gen Z, you don't know where you fit. And at least for me, I feel like, yes, I feel inclined to be like have social media presence, but then I also have that inclination to be like, this is a toxic thing. But then there is that thing where I'm like, okay, you know what? There is a pattern to it where it can work and it can legitimately provide business, and like it can be, at least if I'm going to look at my communications degree, it can have some like PR value for sure. Like having your social media be an archive of your work and your professionalism, or professionalism, excuse me, I shouldn't use that because I'm not that keen on professionalism. I would say more of like that sense of self, because being professional is like it's so subjective. Like it's really it's got to be a little more vague, I think, is that like whatever it is that you choose to present yourself. And I think a goal I have is definitely to find ways to share more. And I think with the pandemic, there's lots of feeling of isolation, there's lots of feeling of being distant from your communities, or even being like interacting cyberly with your communities now. And so it does feel kind of like you need to like promote yourself, but promotion of yourself is hard. So finding little projects is a goal that I'm always like circling back to, like little projects to engage with that keep you kind of motivated to create, to share, because it does make a difference if you can continue to share with people, because they feel maybe like there's a constant flow of communication, even if it is that sort of sometimes like positioning. It feels like almost like on social media, like, look at me, I'm this artist, look at me, I'm this artist, where it's like, okay, like I'm not just this artist. But it does sometimes feel like you kind of need to kick your own butt into gear so that you can do that. And like I'm doing social media work with a friend, and I was saying like we gotta do self-promotion, because the more self-promotion we do, it helps. Because like I'll look at people online, and if I can get to know them a little bit or a piece of them, I'll be like, okay, this is cool, and like I can reach out to them, and I have some things to draw on. I feel like I've had some preliminary information to work together or something. So when it comes to this like idea of like solo work or solo kind of oriented like self-promotion, or even if it's just kind of we want to look at it like portfolio work, is there anything, or is there any tools that you guys rely on for that kind of thing? Like
this is something that I'm working on as well. I think we're in pretty much the same boat of like trying to keep things like going both with Odd House and just individually too as artists. Like finding, you know, I have that with like ambience, so I wouldn't say that is necessarily a small project. It does take a lot. But things that are smaller than that, or things that, you know, I'm looking out for things that I'm interested in or that I want to share as me, that maybe connect to me as an artist, that makes sense to share online, that do share a bit more of like who I am. That's something that I have always been terrified of.
Totally.
Like putting like me on camera talking or doing something like that. Like that's something that has never been something that has been like natural for me to do. But I realize that there is an importance in that in the end, in some way, as long as there's a balance. In sharing things that are true or that are real to you or that you're interested in or that pertain to you as an artist. That's something that I've been thinking of too. Not that I have any answers yet, but
no, and I think like that's kind of where I feel like there's sort of open-ended.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. But yeah, I think finding those things that you're like, this matters to me as an artist, or this is something that I care about, or I want to share this, and like, or this is like a small thing that I can do consistently, that I can like keep communication open with people, or like, you know, that sort of thing. It's
yeah,
I love that. And like for me, so I do like a lot of client work, and I tend to keep that, well, I wouldn't say separate from like my own stuff, but it's kind of weird because like with client work you gotta like be in this kind of like I don't know, like they're the director and you're making their vision come to life through the medium of the film, right? So with my own stuff, I just go crazy. Like I'm working on a few some spec stuff right now, which I'll have out pretty soon, and then I don't know if I want to say it, but I don't know if I want to say it.
This mystery project. You can give it a mystery name.
I'll give it a mystery name, but it's gonna be what's like a
keep the fans on their toes.
I know the fans got to be on their toes, but it's something to do with I guess DJ and what I do, and more of a behind the scenes look at what I do, and being finally somewhat on camera. Possibly. So that's something that is very interesting to me, and you know, putting a face to the brand, and not just like me being a brand, but it's, you know, just people being able to find who I am. And
very cool. Yeah, like it's hard, like, you know, like we have some friends like that Kora and I worked with this past summer who are like social media people, and they have like a substantial following, and that's some work that they get they get work through that, and they have like a really good thing going, it seems. And it's interesting to like work with them outside of social media, because you just like, obviously you're in a different realm, like you're doing film, you're having fun, you're stressed, you're focused, you're whatever, you're totally absorbed in the project. But then later you realize, like, wow, like what this project does for me and my closer community of like film friends, of like family, or of like social friends. Like I'll share work and they're like, yeah, go Sinead, good job. And it's like, yeah, thank you, friends. But then it's like with people with like a substantial following, it's like there is a lot of pressure to perform, because anything you share is being seen by so many eyes, and with so much criticism, and with so much like removal from the fact that they can just be like, they could say mean things, they could say nice things, and like it's crazy to like think about working on like a film. I mean, I guess this is like Hollywood there are people who work on like big budget films, and then those actors are like under scrutiny, but then like the lamp op is like, yeah, just worked on Spider-Man, baby, like yeah, so it's like
it's true.
it's interesting, and like I think like sometimes I feel like, wow, like do I want to strive for any more attention beyond my friends and family? Like, because no, at the end of the day, no, like I don't. But then it's like with career-wise, do I want more support? Do I want higher chances of getting client work or creative work that's funded by a client? Like, that's great. Like, if you're just like, oh yeah, like, okay, like I do want that. I do want a career making art. But it's complicated, it's tough, and like it feels like a huge negotiation that like when you're young you have to sort of think like, okay, what am I setting up for myself the next 10 years, 20 years? Like, it's crazy.
It is.
It makes me sweat a little bit.
Help, I'm panicking.
Yeah,
no, it's true, it's a lot.
Like social
It's
media
heavy.
just feels like there's
Yeah.
consequence. There feels like there's so much permanence too, in a way.
Yeah, that's why I think it's such a, like, I mean, like you said, like setting up the online world for yourself, like who you are up there, is really important in the way that, like, I don't want to just be Cora Vanderlip online and have it just be me, because that, I feel, is like, now the door's open for like everybody to feel like they have access into my life, which is not true. Like that I feel is, especially when it comes to like influencers and like that whole world, that's where people struggle a lot, because it's just like individuals who are just themselves, and like you just get this microscope over your life that's like, you know.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So I feel like if you set things up in a way where you're there for a reason, you're a filmmaker, artist, you have a production company, like, you know, you have that as like the cushion around you as a person, and not having to feel like you have to give your entire self to the world without wanting to. Like, you very much control what you release and what you communicate and how much of yourself you share. And hopefully under that banner of like filmmaking, artist, production company, people won't be like, but I want more of you. Or, you know, but like hopefully.
Or if they just want more, then they just have to like watch all your films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to learn about me, watch
Or even like reach out and
Yeah.
and hang out with us
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
person or
Yeah.
online, or just give me a phone call.
Exactly.
Or,
Yeah. If it's more personal,
Yeah.
like, or personable, like,
Yeah.
like that's more real. That's like if you want to connect as a person, or if you know, if you're another filmmaker and you want to talk more about that, then like 100% always like one-on-one. But that whole thing of like having this world online where people are like constantly looking at you like as a person, I feel like that's tricky. That's a very fine line.
Yeah. And personally, I don't have like social media apps and stuff on my cell phone, and I deleted I deleted my personal Instagram account. I try to stay away as much as possible, and I'm definitely a lot happier because of that. Because I'm not looking at what anyone's doing, right? It's kind of just my own like this like tunnel. It's not tunnel vision, but I look at what Cora's doing, like so. But it's more just, you know, I can focus on myself and I can be okay with that. And then if I want to know what other filmmakers are doing in Kamloops, like, I have their phone number. Sometimes I just call them.
Yeah.
You know, just, hey, how's it going? Right? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. If someone even if someone like random, you know, quotation mark random, called me and said, hey, you're doing this film thing, like, I'm trying to do it, can I talk to you for a minute? I'll be fired up. Like, I'll be getting them fired up, right?
Yeah.
Just because that's awesome. And I feel like with social media, with me, I'm kind of awkward. Like, I don't really know what I would post. Like just photos of myself, I guess.
Just like
Yeah.
You know?
the
but,
same
like,
photo every single day. Just,
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, have you guys seen that Jeff, like, Goldblum account? It's just the exact same photo
No,
of
Yeah.
him
that's-
over and
that's
over
great,
every
though.
day, 365 days a year,
That's great.
sometimes 366.
Yeah.
That's DJ.
Yeah. No, that's like, and like you're saying, like you got to have a bit of that presence. So
Yeah,
I'm kind of
it
working
is
on
hard.
that. Yeah.
It's really hard, and honestly, like, I've been working with clients and telling them to do that, and it's hard to listen to it yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing
Yeah.
it for someone else, you're like, okay, I'm gonna show up with my camera, I'm gonna film you, bring a latte, drink the latte,
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
what you like to do in your spare time.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, and you're like, what? I have
Perfect.
to pose with a latte and talk
Yeah.
about my life? Like, that sounds
Yeah.
like the worst possible commercial. But you're like, no. There are people that will see this and they'll be like, okay, I learned a little bit. Moving
Right.
Yeah.
on. They're not gonna sit and dwell on how corny you are. Some will, but some will just be like, okay, cool. Here's a little piece of information.
Yeah.
Swipe, what's next? Like, they're not gonna spend as much time thinking it's terrible as you will.
Yeah.
Like, the only
Yeah.
person, probably, like, it's what's crazy too on social media is like the people that visit your page the most are yourself. Like, you're the one who looks through your own content and
Yeah.
judges it and questions why it's there and like
Yeah.
if it's presenting something or what have you.
Yeah.
Okay, to end on like a positive kind of like message, because I think we've covered like a lot of really cool topics.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, and I feel like I've really connected a lot with what you two had to say, and like this was really, really nice. And like, if there was like one takeaway that you have, or like one piece of advice that you feel like kind of connects with this, I'd be curious what comes to mind for you. Like, for me, I would just say, like, to conclude on what we're talking about social media is like, don't take yourself too seriously, because it isn't always set in stone, and if it is, and you're leading with a place of like heart or your personality, if you make a mistake, you can apologize. If you offend someone with your thumbs up photo, but like the worst, but like you have more to gain in connection, I believe.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I think building on that, I would say, yeah, stay true to what's real for you and just keep doing the work, because that will lead you to the next things. And like, as long as you have that core in you of like, this is like whatever it is, it could be anything, like, but that core, like the guiding light thing, just follow that, and then that will show you the things that need to happen.
That was really good. Yeah. And I think with me, it's just, don't think about it, just do it. Don't think about it, just do it. And putting away like your negative, those negative thoughts inside of you that are saying, oh, I'm not a filmmaker, I'm not good enough. Dude, let me everyone listening to this, let me get you fired up. You're good enough, and I want you to get out there and do it. Like, just don't let those negative mental barriers get in the way.
Experimentation. baby.
Experiment,
experimentation.
do whatever you got to do, and get fired up to do it.
Yeah.
Because with me, it's like, I love the work. That's it. I love working. I love the work. I have very little outside of the work, and it's, just go at it, just do it. And if anyone says not to do it, send them back here and say DJ told me to do it. So,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sweet.
Thank you so much, DJ, for
Yeah,
joining
yeah,
us.
yeah. Thanks for bringing me on.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I hope anyone listening to this, like, if you had any self-doubts or anything, you can say, you know what, it's, that's gonna be there, but I'm gonna do it anyways. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. And yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for listening to this too. It's exciting. I think this might be one of our last episodes of the year, possibly.
Oh, yeah.
So, so probably signing off until 2022.
2022. All right. This has been Coffee Table Daydreams. Bye-bye.